the answer is always inside of you. This is why it's so important to know yourself. And to me, that's what true confidence is that real, deep, inner knowing. Knowing what you're good at. What are you good at? It's this idea that we really do get to create our realities, right? And that we don't have to follow mass beliefs. No matter how fucking deep they've been drilled into you, there's always a way to figure it out. Hello, lady, and welcome back to the Style for Life podcast. It's your girl, Katie, and I know I say this every episode. I was literally thinking this when I was making my breakfast this morning, but I was like, oh, I'm so excited about today's episode. It's one of my favorite. But you know what? I am fucking excited about it because I love podcasting, and this episode is special because it's the November monthly roundup, and I'm super, super excited because November has been an amazing transformational month for me year after year. So anyways, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. If you're tuned in to this month's roundup, I am so glad you're here. I love this episode. This is the episode where I usually kind of do a roundup of like lifestyle things, like all the things that are rocking my world, inspiring me, keeping me feeling good, all of that to share with you, all of my sleepover sister secrets. That's why the podcast is called Style for Life, right? Like style is definitely a piece of it, but it's a whole lifestyle and the way we live. I recently was traveling and we were talking about that. We were kind of having this whole mini sleepover situation, which I'm going to get into in this episode. And we're talking about how, like, as women, well, as adults, not even really women, but like as young girls, if you remember, or if this is part of your childhood, like having this sleepover was such a like sacred ceremony. I think that was where my obsession with rituals and ceremonies started, was that act of like coming together with your friends, and you know, like time and space, reality didn't exist for a little bit, and you could explore all these sides of you, and you were allowed to stay up later, and for some reason your parents seemed cooler that night, and you were allowed to order pizza and like just do all these things that you couldn't do on a normal basis. And it was always so special, and I always felt like I left a sleepover like more mature, like I learned something from my friends. And that's exactly what happened when I was out of town last weekend for the Show Up and Show Out fashion show. And I wanted to take some time today to explore that. But it's kind of, the irony around this is really blowing my mind. So I know I started the podcast with, oh my God, thanks so much for being here. This is my favorite episode. I love podcasting. But my podcast is 3 years old this month. 3 years old. So this is my roundup episode where I usually share a theme and an idea for the month and like things I've been loving. And I kind of want to switch it up, but also it's basically the same thing, is I always do celebrations and things I am celebrating usually in my monthly roundup, but I really want to take this whole entire monthly roundup to be one big celebration. November, historically, for me in these last couple of years, has been a really, really, really big month for me. So if you know me and you've been listening for a while, the number 11 is my number, probably a lot of y'all's number too. Like everyone loves a good 1111. When I was a little kid, I was always obsessed with my birthday. I've always been a big birthday person, and my birthday is February 11th. So it's the 11th. And then one time, I remember where I was when I did this, and this is kind of weird, but we're all a little weird, right? I remember being in my parents' kitchen, counting, I don't know why I was doing this, counting the letters in the alphabet, when I realized that K was the 11th letter of the alphabet. And I was just like, oh, this is so magical. And I've just always been like the number 11, and the number 11 always comes up in my life. Like one of my friends was like, now it's just kind of annoying. She's like, actually, it's just so expected. I don't even know if it's annoying anymore. She's like, but every time you message me, every time I'm thinking about you, the number 11 is there and it's available, right? So it's become like my sign when I know I'm on the right track, when I know I'm doing something, or I know to know I'm in the right place at the right time. So I didn't realize it at the time when I was doing my podcast, but everything started happening on the 11th day of the month. So the first time I announced that I was going to launch my podcast, and at the time, had nothing to do with the date. It was by Wednesday, you have to make a verbal, visual claim to a group of people. At the time, I was inside of a coaching community. So I got to pick whether it was them or my Instagram or my family or whoever, that you were going to start a podcast or you're going to take the next steps in starting a podcast. And I was like, okay. And that day, Wednesday, happened to be 9/11. So I know 9/11 has so many other things attached to it, but it was kind of surprising to me that it was the 11 energy. And I was like, wow, that's the day. So I leaned into it and I announced 2019. I was like, okay, I made a cute little, well, it wasn't cute. I made a video and I dropped it in this group I was in. I was like, okay, I'm going to start a podcast. I have no idea what it's called, but I'm going to start a podcast. Then a month later, then I had the opportunity to take a podcasting masterclass on October 11th. And I was like, oh my God, it's the 11th. So has to be a thing, right? So it's like, okay. So I took the masterclass on October 11th and that was a game-changing turning point for me. And I took that masterclass and I banged that damn thing out, because then I went to my husband and I said, I know I want to hold myself accountable. I want to launch my podcast on 11/11, because 11 has always been my number since I was a little kid. Before I even really knew what spirituality was or what it meant or numerology, I've always been obsessed with astrology, but I feel like astrology was always very accessible. Like since a little kid, astrology was very accessible, meaning like your horoscope was in the newspaper and you can get your horoscope out of the 17 magazine and you knew what your zodiac sign, your sun sign was. I didn't even know that there was like moon signs and rising signs and Venus signs and Lilith signs and all the signs. Didn't even know. But you knew what your sun sign was, right? You knew what your zodiac sign was. So it felt very accessible. And as a kid, I was way into the unknowns, meaning like I was way obsessed with ghosts, to the point I'd fucking freak myself out. When I was little, my grandmother's from England. So when I was little, she took me to England and like obsessed with like going to Stonehenge and all the ghost stories. In London, it's a really old city. So like lots and lots and lots of ghost stories. And then we went to Scotland and I was like, I'm going to see the Loch Ness Monster. Like I've always been obsessed with those kind of things in life that just, we don't have the quote unquote like scientific proof around, right? But I didn't know that number 11 had any kind of like real spiritual connection. Maybe when I was little, we would do the 11/11 thing. I really feel like that is an older version of me, like a college version of me that was into that. Long story short, I went to my husband. I said, okay, I'm going to launch my podcast on 11/11. It's a Monday. I want my episodes to come out on a Monday. And that's always been my number. And I'm just going to go with it. I have a month to come up with a name, to record episodes, to get started, to get a microphone, to like do all the things, right? So that was the beginning of transforming my closet, which at the time just meant adding a microphone, fucking cleaning it, and sitting on the floor to record. So 11/11/2019, the Just to Realize podcast was birthed. And if you're new, yes, the podcast hasn't always been called Style for Life. It was called Just Realized for 2 years, up until last year when I changed it to Style for Life, because it's really the lifestyle of following my dreams and my desires and creating the life that I want, that I'm really trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? Share on this podcast, right? It's this idea that we really do get to create our realities, right? And then we don't have to follow mass beliefs. No matter how fucking deep they've been drilled into you, there's always a way to figure it out. And I believe that I'm proof of that, right? Because when I started this podcast in 2019, oh shit, let me tell you, like where I'm at now, if someone would have said in 2022, you will have a business, you and your husband will both have businesses, be working from home, and every day you will be in complete awe of that business, and you'll be recording a podcast about this podcast being 3 years old and how you just fucking flew out to do a fashion show, like your first love. I'd have been like, you're crazy. That's never going to happen. But here we are. So November for me just feels like an amazing, amazing time to celebrate. And I think it makes a ton of sense, right? Because it is the month of quote unquote gratitude. It is the month that we usually practice and are very heightened around the things that we're grateful for with Thanksgiving. And I think with the more that we learn in society, the more we try to lean into what we're thankful for and creating our own new traditions around this month and the holidays in this month. So, I have chills. So November 2019, I start the just realized Style for Life podcast. So my podcast turns 3 on 11/11. November 2020, Katie just realized is birthed. It started with a podcast interview that I recorded on 11/11 with a woman named Emily. I can't even remember her last name. I think Emily is her first name. We just got connected in podcast land. Didn't really know her, but her whole thing was just like how to actually figure out what your dream job was. And obviously a series of events had been leading up to this moment. But, I lost my job in August and I was in that dark night of the soul journey where I was just going through all the things. And then her and I recorded that podcast and I was like, I'm hoping something really good is going to come out of this podcast because I need it. I'm going on like month 3 and I just don't know what it is, but I truly believe in the energy of 11/11. And on the podcast interview, there wasn't one thing that she said or did that like, the skies opened for me. But it did help me feel this true sense of confidence, right? That I could keep going, that it was gonna come to me soon. Then later that evening in the bathtub is when I had my aha moment. And then exactly a week from 11/11 on 11/18, which is really funny to me because my pager code, and a shout out to all my peeps that had pagers, my pager code in high school was 118. It was my birthday and my grandma's birthday. Same one that took me to England, the same one that is like my go-to, which now I think for sure is 1,000% part of my spirit team, which also in pager code, 11 could be V and 8 would be A, which is VA, which is where I'm from. So like all of it all makes sense, all connected. But on 11/18, I pitched my business in the current business mastermind that I was in without a business. And that's how I got my very first client. So November, the 11th month of the year, has always brought really amazing energy to me. What was I doing last year in 2021 in November? I should have an amazing story to follow that, but I really don't know because after starting my podcast and then launching my business, I think last year I was just grateful that here I was still running a business. So now we're sitting here November 2022. My podcast is 3 years old. My business is 2 years old. My business is a fucking toddler, which is crazy. And I feel like a toddler. I feel like I've learned how to roll over, right? I could sit up. I can even say a couple of words here and there. And now I'm ready to walk around. I'm fucking knocking shit over and I'm saying, no, I don't have to do that if I don't want to. That's exactly like the analogy I use for how I feel in my business right now all the time is like, I feel like, oh, look at me. I've gained a little bit of confidence. But all that to say is that what I really wanted to focus on is I want to share those messages as a remembrance, as a way to honor this podcast, the celebration, but also like to celebrate ourselves so we can continue to build our confidence. Celebrate. I talk about that all the time. I always talk about gratitude and I always talk about celebrating. I am not good at celebrating. So I really wanted to hold space for celebrating on this episode to talk about it. And next, I really do want to give you a recap of the Show Up and Show Out fashion show. And I think it's one of the first times in my life that I really held space to celebrate it and to cry and to feel it and to let it come in. And it was a game changer. And while there was moments of that fashion show that I felt like I was feeling, it really helped me actually build more confidence than I've had in a really, really, really long time. But before we get into the fashion show story, I wanted to do something really cool. So in honor of November being my favorite month and launching the podcast on 11/11, I wanted to offer up my new ebook. Well, I don't know if I can still call it new, but it is new. It was September 2022. So it's just a baby. It's only 2 months old. So my fall version of How to Shop Like a Stylist, which was brand new to the business this year, is like a 35-page ebook teaching you how to shop, teaching you how to understand the trends and discern which ones work for you and which ones don't. It also is filled with outfit formulas. So I put in there over 30 outfit formulas to help you get dressed every single day of the month. And not only that, those outfit formulas and the trends and all of that, they're fully linked to shoppable links, right? It takes you directly to the products. One of my fucking pet peeves in life is going to a website, clicking or seeing something amazing, especially when I'm shopping for clothes. Oh, what she has on, that's amazing. Let me find those shoes. And it doesn't directly link out to it. So I made sure that everything I put in there directly linked out for you to be able to shop. Now, I can't guarantee that it's still in stock in your size. I wish I could. If I had a magic wand, that's what I would use my magic wand for, is to control the supply chain of all my favorite retailers to help all the women that I love. But in honor of celebrating, I am going to run the How to Shop Like a Stylist book at 50% off from today, which is technically Halloween, from now until 11/11. So 11 days, even a little bit over, but Monday fell on the 31st this year. So for the next 11 days, that book is going to be on sale for 50% off when you use the code CELEBRATE. So I'll put all the information in the show notes, but if you're super excited to hop on that, you can go over to the website. It's katiejuststyle.com/how to shop. It will take you directly to the page. You can check it out. You can read more about the book. You can enter the code CELEBRATE and you get the book 50% off. So the retail price on the book right now is $29. So 50% off is going to bring you under $15. So for $14 and some change, you can get this amazing, amazing ebook. I've gotten so much amazing feedback on the book, how easy it is, how it really helped shed light and help people find and really start to connect with their inner style archetype. It really made them feel confident. Like, going shopping's fucking intimidating. I don't care what anyone says. Like, if you don't walk into a store knowing what you want to get, it can be intimidated and you can totally be taken for a ride. I always use the analogy of, like, I don't go grocery shopping without a grocery list. Why would I go clothes shopping without a shopping list? Why would I go shopping without intention? Never. I don't do it. And I love shopping. I love clothes, but it can be intimidating. And if we're not in our highest self and we're only shopping out of necessity, or we're shopping because we have something coming up, it can really make it unfucking enjoyable. So my goal with this was to make it amazing, make it you, put the power back on in your hands, give you back all the power. So you know exactly what you want, exactly what to shop for, exactly what you can expect to see from a trends perspective this fall and winter, so that nothing would catch you off guard and you can decide ahead of time what works for you and what doesn't. And then if you love those things, like I said, there's outfit formulas on exactly how to wear them in adult fashion, in true mom, hot mom adult fashion, cool hot mom outfit formulas. And then you can shop directly. So speaking of being a cool hot mom, a lot of us are time starved. So I did it for you because I need people to do it for me. So I always go back to how I feel about food. And that's the approach and intention I use when I'm creating my styling products, is how do I make this easy? How do I make this fun? And how do I make it super, super quick, right? Because we're trying to do amazing things. We all want to feel good and we need to do it quickly. So help me celebrate this month and grab your book, use code CELEBRATE and get 50% off. katiejuststyle.com/how to shop. And again, I'll put all of that in the show notes. I'm really excited to run this extended offer all the way to 11/11. I think it's just a beautiful way to honor this month, to honor this space, and to just be like, holy shit, Like, I did this, you can do this, we can all do this. We can do things. We can actually create something out of nothing. Honestly, that was one of the most powerful things my husband said to me one day. I was having a fit of low self-confidence, and he was like, you literally created something out of nothing, out of your heart and your mind and your true desires inside yourself. And you should never feel low about that. You should only feel amazing about that. So that being said, I wanted to also take time on this podcast to give you a quick recap on the fashion show I was just at. So I posted some pictures, and a couple of you guys were like, oh my God, I want to hear all about it. So if you've been following along on the social webs of the Instagrams, I was in a fashion show last week called the Show Up and Show Out Fashion Show. It was put on by a friend of mine, Jenna, owner of Blue Louis Studios. It's a marketing and branding firm. And she said what she has been hearing a lot from women is that they just don't feel confident, or they don't have the confidence to go after their desires. So she said, all right, what can I do with this? How can I make this fun? Oh, I know. Let's have a fashion show. And also a women's conference, and also hold space for women to connect and get to know each other. And it was amazing. So the reason I'm really sharing this with you is not because it's a fashion show, and not just because it was around styling, and not because I got to be on an expert panel of stylists that talked about style. It mostly is because I was stretched out of my comfort zone. And I learned so much. And I wanted to just hold space for a few minutes to share that with you. If you are on this journey with me and you're thinking about doing something scary, I wanted to share this story with you so that maybe we could shift our mindsets together. So long story short, which is really going to be long story long, long story short, the fashion show was in Cleveland, Ohio. So I had to get on a plane, cross state lines, go to the Loft is who was the sponsor of the show. So the fashion show was held at the Loft, and we were styling and showcasing the new fall collection of the Loft, right? So I flew into Cleveland. I met my models at the Loft the day before the show. So hindsight, maybe that wasn't the great idea. Okay, so one thing I learned, don't meet all your clients at one time. So y'all might be thinking like, duh, Katie, you should have known that. I've never flown out of town to style women all together at one time. So it felt like a really good idea to meet everybody because we only had that one day at the same time. But it wasn't. And the analogy I used, my husband was like, it's like cutting hair. You can't do 3 haircuts at the same time and for any of them to come out looking good, right? So I had to pause, I had to slow down, and I had to be like, okay, how am I going to handle this? And I had to go through and I don't want to say prioritize. I had to go through and like just put things in separate buckets and understand where my energy was going. So that was stretchy in and of itself. Now, I had done, being the Enneagram 3 overachiever that I am, I did my research before I rolled up in that store. I don't shop the Loft frequently, so I wasn't as familiar with their brands and what they had going on this season. I've done my own research, but that doesn't mean that their brand is leaning into any of the trends, or maybe they're heavily leaning into one over the other, et cetera, et cetera. Anyone that's been in retail, certain locations are going to feed their local target market. So I really was trying to study to figure out what that was, what that looked like. What it didn't account for was rolling in the day before. It was a lot trickier than I planned. I've never styled a fashion show before. So the difference in a fashion show versus styling someone for real life is in a fashion show, we want to show off all the different pieces of a collection. When I style someone, I want them to feel like themselves, and I want them to get their money's worth out of their clothes. So when I pick an outfit for you, I want to show you all the different ways you can wear it. So I never thought about not being able to reuse pieces in the fashion show, and that really threw me off my game. And then I had this moment, and this is what the real learning that I wanted to share, like the core nugget that I got out of this is, one of my models, I met her on site that day, like, hey, here I am, style me. Which in its basic sense is like, cool, right? You're a stylist. Like, how would you style this person? That's so easy to do in theory. It's so fucking easy, right? I've taken styling trainings. We've had little fake people and you style them based on their body type, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When you meet a real life human in real life, it's so much bigger than that. And I've talked about this over and over and over on the podcast. It's so much bigger than that. Yes, we have to take in the physical aspects of this, right? So this particular client was petite and really petite, right? Like, shout out to my 5-footers, my 5'1s. I attract, I'm going to say 80% of my clients are 5'4" and under. I don't know if it's because I'm 5'4" and under. I don't know if it's because I'm the shortest person in my family and I'm always joked about being the shortest person in my family, but I attract a lot of shorties and I'm here for it because I feel your pain. I'm here for it. And we all know that when you're petite, it comes with certain struggles, right? Like, nothing's made to fit you. Everything's too long and you're constantly worried about looking stubby or short. And you want to exude power and be taken seriously without looking like a child, right? So there's lots of different challenges. And so I'm going through, and mind you, I'm trying to juggle the 3 people that I thought I could style at one time. I mean, like, I'm good, but I'm just not that good yet. Maybe when I'm like 4 years in business. And I was really struggling with this client. And I was like out there and all these things are up against me. I have 3 people at once, which I don't like because I really enjoy going deep. So I really enjoy going deep with my one-on-one clients. I'm new to the brand. Everything I studied ahead of time can't reuse because other people have chose those styles. The local stylist had already got a chance to go in and pick the clothes. So I couldn't use certain pieces that in my mind, and creatives, you know what I mean? Like, in my mind, I've already styled my outfits. And then they were like, no, you can't do that. And I was like, oh, what? What do you mean? And I've been up since 3 a.m. and my period's about to start any minute. So I'm already in my luteal phase, right? No sleep, no estrogen, all the things. So I feel like I'm about to crash and burn. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't figure out what to put my client in. So she's petite. In a physical store, we don't have the internet, right? Having the internet at my fingertips, 90% of my styling business is virtual, right? So I help people all over the world, mostly in the United States, but I have some international clients and we get to use the internet. So I'm in a physical store. I can only style to what's in this store. It was magical, but it was a challenge I don't face on a daily basis in my business. And now I have a petite client. So now only can we do this retail footprint. Now we only can do this one corner of the store, right? And I'm like, okay, Katie, this is it. This is the thing that's going to prove to you that you're not fucking good. And all that imposter syndrome and all that shit you've been telling yourself, it's true. Like, you're not that good. You're not as good as you thought you are. This is it. This is the moment. And everyone's going to watch you fail in real life. Like, you hopped on a plane, you booked a hotel, you left your kids crying to fail in front of everyone. And I remember exactly where I was and what rack I was standing in front of, in the petite section, of course. And I was like, this is it. This is it. You're failing. You're failing. And in that moment, something just clicked. And it was like, you're not failing. You have to get back to the gift. What's your gift? Anyone can style. Anyone can do anything. But what's your gift? What's the thing that makes you you? And something just said to me, go ask her more questions about her. Go ask her who she is. Where is she at in her life? Understand that. And I don't know why this one question opened up the floodgates for me. And then from there, it opened her up. I mean, we're meeting sight unseen, right? Like, we've bought the house, like there's no turning back, right? She doesn't know me any more than I know her. And now she's like, here's my body, do what you want with it. We all know how fucking uncomfortable that is. My favorite people in the world, when you listen to a podcast, right, you feel like, you know, your favorite podcasters are your best friends. Like, shout out, we are homies. Like, you know everything. It's exactly how I feel about my favorite podcasters, right? And when I talk to those people in real life, I'm like, oh my God, it's real life. It's still very fucking vulnerable and uncomfortable. So she's feeling it. I'm feeling it. And I finally slowed down and I was like, okay, what am I good at? And I went, I just talked to her like a fucking person. And one simple question, how old are you? Opened up everything. Let me get inside of her. Not that it matters how old she is, but it led into X, Y, and Z, and why she likes what she likes and why she doesn't like what she likes and where she's at in her life and how she just had a baby and blah, 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 blah. Then boom, boom, boom. We had her outfit together in like fucking 5 minutes and it was amazing. And I was like, oh my God, I learned so much in that moment. And I was like, I have to share this on the podcast. And it's so funny because as we were driving up to the fashion show, I got to meet one of my amazing clients and her daughter and experience with them. We're talking in the car about failing, and here I am on my shit, right? Oh, there's no such thing as failure. Whenever you fail, you learn. I should have known that shit was going to come right back up. So when I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, I'm failing. I really did learn a lot. I was super stretched. I was definitely out of my comfort zone. But let me tell you one thing that I learned for sure. Digging deep and focusing on what I am really good at helped me. And then that grew my confidence. Not just because, oh, you're good and you can just like show up and just do anything. Being faced with floundering and then digging deep in myself, knowing that the answer was inside of me, built a level of confidence I didn't know I had. And lastly, I was held by some of the most amazing women on the planet. So what I really want to share out of sharing the story, and the biggest thing I learned is, one, the answer is inside of you. The answer is inside of you. Always the answer is inside of you. And when you cannot see it, there will be a group of women there that are holding space for you and creating a safe space and lifting you up and making sure that the other things that they can give you are being given so that you can go back inside and remember what it is, the gift that you have so that you can share it with the world. Don't underestimate yourself and don't underestimate your inner circle. If it wouldn't have been for the host and my client and all these other amazing women that I was around telling me to eat, when was the last time you ate? Make sure you're drinking your water. It's okay. Take your time. You know, we're all here for the same thing. We're all learning. We're all stretching. We're all growing. If they wouldn't have been there helping me feel better about myself, I don't think I would have hit that moment of clarity. I had to know that I was safe, even though I felt like I was failing, to hit that moment of clarity. And because I had that uplifting happening around me, then I could be like, oh yeah, fuck, this is how I do this. So I'm sharing that as a reminder that the answer is always inside of you. This is why it's so important to know yourself. And to me, that's what true confidence is that real deep inner knowing what you're good at. What are you good at? For me, I was like, okay, I love true deep connection. I like to do it in a funny way. I'm going to make jokes the whole time I get to know you. But true deep connection is always my answer. It's something I love. It's something I think I'm good at, is being vulnerable and saying like, hey, I don't feel like I'm hitting the mark here. I could tell you're not happy. I just need to know a little bit more about you. That is a gift. So what's your gift? So what I'm doing actually is inviting you to hold space, to pause, to celebrate yourself, right? This whole episode is around celebrating. Yes, I'm sharing like a fuck ton of accomplishments. It's a big month for me. And I do want to hold space to say, wow, look at what I've done. Because if I haven't, have I mentioned I'm an Enneagram 3? That's the overachiever. That's the, once I get to the top of one mountain, I'm looking at the next mountain and I never pause to look at what I've done. And I really want to break that stigma around celebrating, because we're also taught, and I feel it in my chest right now. It feels like I'm fucking bragging and it feels uncomfortable. But I really want to break that one, because I don't want to keep feeling like I'm flying through my life and I'm never present in the moment. Celebrating always brings me back to the moment and it always makes me feel present. Plus, how else are we going to know what else is possible? I wouldn't be saying these things if there were not other women ahead of me that showed me, that quote unquote bragged, which I'm not even going to use that word, that told me their stories, that told moments when they were struggling, that celebrated how many years they were in business, or celebrated their podcast, or celebrated whatever they were celebrating, to show me that you could do it. You could do it. Okay? You can do anything. It's true. I know it can be really annoying when you feel lost, but I want to change that narrative. I want to change the narrative around bragging. I hate when people are like, oh, this is a shameless plug, or, oh, a humble brag. It's not. Like, let's just celebrate ourselves. Let's celebrate ourselves so we can create more confidence. I sat on that panel of the Stylist that night, and we got asked questions like, what does confidence mean? How do you help your clients embody it? What are all the benefits of confidence? And some of the most amazing answers were coming out of our mouths, and it was beautiful. And every woman there that night that was in the audience, the models, the stylists, the makeup artists, everyone that helped us set up, the videographer, the food, the DJ, all those people, they all deserve to celebrate and honor that space, that they were there, that they did the thing, that they stepped out of themselves. And I just want to hold more and more space with that. So I hope that by sharing that story with you of when you feel really, really stretched and you're doing something, that remembering just to come home to yourself, like, what is your core gift? Just remember that. And if you don't know what your core gift is, which this shit is hard, which is the weekly work, the daily work to be done, always ask yourself, like, what's that gift? What's that gift? Come back to that gift. Constantly be exploring it. I don't know if that's really, really my gift. That's really just the gift I feel right now. That's just what feels true to me in this moment. It's just the one thing that feels relevant. And I'm sure this time next year, when I'm in November of 2023 and I'm making another November celebrating my confidence themed podcast, that I will have a new version of what that gift looks like. But I just wanted to share with you guys a little bit about the stretchiness that was that event. The intention of that event was to build confidence, and it sure as fucking shit did. Because when I came home and finally, I couldn't sleep for like 3 days because it was so amped up. When I came home, I remember I went outside to check the mail, like just kind of getting in the groove once I came home, and we ate and we hung out and hugged and kissed and, oh, mommy, I missed you so much and all that stuff. And things started to feel like a little normal. I went to check the mail, and it was already dark outside, because we ain't going to talk about that. That's the October lifestyle roundup, was beating the winter blues. Which, if you have not listened to that episode, please go listen to it, because I have been implementing all the things that I talked about in the October 22 Lifestyle Roundup for Winter Blues, and they have been killing it. I'm currently recording this podcast with my happy light on, and it's a fucking game changer. But going back, I came home and I walked out to check the mail. It was dark outside and it was quiet, and it was just one of those moments. And I literally just like put my arms up in the air and did like a fucking fist pump and just started crying, because I was like, I did it. Like, traveling's wildly uncomfortable for me, for emotionally uncomfortable for me. I've traveled a lot in my job. I've traveled decent amounts in my business, and it always fucks with me emotionally. It's when my mom guilt always rears its head. And when I came home, I always feel a sense of relief from that standpoint. And I went outside and I just cried. And I was like, look at what you did. Was it perfect? No. Did I look at those outfits after the fact and think, could I have done better? Yeah, I still look at some of them and think I could have done better. But do I think I did fucking 1,000% with what I was given in the situation and what I learned and what I was learning? Yes. I wouldn't have changed any of it, not for the fucking world. It was amazing. Next time I do a fashion show, I know some questions to ask. I know things I want to do for myself. We all learn so much. So remember that stretching is growing. It's uncomfortable, but I love the word stretch, because I love to stretch. When I'm taking a day off from exercising, stretching feels like a good exercise. But now I understand, and I see the real true importance of it. So I'm inviting you to stretch your confidence. I'm inviting you to celebrate your confidence so that you can continue to create it and maintain it and cater to it every single day, because that journey never really ends. We're just cultivating it day after day after day. I'm so grateful for you for being on this journey with me, for celebrating 3 fucking years podcasting. I think that's over 1,000 days podcasting, episodes We're almost at 200 episodes, which is crazy. And I just want to say thank you for being on this journey with me. I couldn't have done it without you. I am so, so grateful. And I can't even imagine what's next. So go take advantage of this flash sale on the ebook for the next 11 days, 50% off, How to Shop Like a Stylist. Under $15. I mean, can you even get a fucking Chick-fil-A meal? Can you even get a Kava? Can you even get a Chipotle meal for that? And I promise you the amount of confidence that you will start to get out of this. It's so many layers to this book because I really took my entire process and boiled it down. If anything, like just do the style archetype quiz and go into that and start figuring out who you are on the inside so that you can do all these things. So that you know how to shop, so that it feel good to shop, because it's really a way to self-express, to know yourself so deeply. Styling is a privilege. It's a thing that you get to do. It's not something you have to do. You have to get dressed. You get to be styled. You get to be stylish. You get to express yourself. So go grab the book so that shopping and styling is easy for you, done for you outfit formulas so you don't even have to think about what you're going to wear. Those formulas are for you. They're my favorite. They're the ones I'm executing on a daily basis. It makes getting dressed super easy and fun for me. So go grab the book, use code CELEBRATE to get 50% off, and then DM me and tell me what you like about it. Tell me what outfit formulas you're doing. Let's send pictures to each other. Let's share our ahas and share what we're learning. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I hope you will carve out some time this month in November to celebrate yourself. If you have an amazing story that you want to share with me, DM me on Insta at Katie Allen Stylist. Maybe you've been in a situation like that where you felt really stretchy. Maybe you have a story you want to share on the podcast. Let's co-host the show. Send me a DM at Katie Allen Stylist or hop into my emails at, it's Katie at katiejuststyle.com. All right, ladies, we'll see you on the flip side. Bye.